It all starts now on The View.
Hello and welcome to The View. Rosie, Nick, and Whoop. So, you know, there are new reports showing how the guy that got onto the White House property, you know, and went storming into the White House, he got much further than people officially or previously admitted. He apparently overpowered either a security guard or a Secret Service agent. He made it into several rooms before being apprehended. This is like the third time there's been a security breach since Obama's been president. Now, I don't want to think anything bad. Yeah. But what the hell? What the hell?
Two guys who agree on nothing, Darrell Issa, who's a Republican congressman, and Congressman Cummings, who is an icon, I think, of the left, are both equally irate about the situation. And I think heads are going to roll. This is part of the problem, and this is always the case in Washington. The cover-up is always where you get in trouble. I don't think that the Secret Service was up front with any of us about what had happened. We didn't know how deep inside the intruder made it.
Yeah, but also explain that it's not Obama's fault, if you will.
It's never any president's fault.
Never any president's fault.
I mean, the Secret Service, so the Secret Service has a single job. It's not building security. It is to protect the life of the first family.
Right.
So I think initially people felt like because the president wasn't home, but you never stand down on the White House complex because the world over, the White House complex symbolizes American power. That's where our leaders live, no matter their political party.
And isn't it true, you were saying it the other day, that he's had more threats than...
I mean, more people, and you know, I would love to think, oh, it's just because people want to go meet him. But, you know, that's in my most positive place. But I'm offended by the fact that, you know, there's a video and you see the guy is running. And, you know, normally when it happens, they would have shot at him.
Left instead of going straight, he would have been right into their living quarters. It's terrifying.
That's scary. It's so scary because when I went down for the National AIDS Strategy, and...
Were you in the East Room?
Yeah, and I had an injury that I can't talk about, but let's just say that there was a big issue about me using a cane.
Yeah.
They're like, it's a deadly weapon.
So you couldn't use a cane?
I couldn't use a cane because a crazy idiot went into the White House.
Right.
But do you want to hear what's even crazier than anything? It is harder to get into this freaking building. Than it is. I mean, this is the most ridiculous.
I had to give a pap smear yesterday. I don't know if anyone else could get it. Did you have that?
I did.
Maybe it's because I'm new, you know?
Yeah.
You don't want to know what they did to me.
No, I don't.
Good Lord, I'm scared of all of you. How about this actress? You know, this is not going to go away, so we're going to be talking about it some more. But I want to move on to something equally as bizarre. Actress Geena Davis says Hollywood has the power to get more women elected in D.C. by casting more women as politicians. Now, she claims her role as president on the series Commander-in-Chief back in 2006 had a direct impact on how viewers felt about the possibility of a real-life female president. Really?
I mean, so wait, why are you laughing? Because in politics, this would be helpful if our viewers are voters, and if viewers and voters saw more women in movies and TV that were in
Well, thank God for Morgan Freeman.
What?
Dennis Haysbert.
Well, you know what? If you look at other shows, right? That Sex in the City, The New Girl, The Mindy Project, just empowering women who want to make different choices, not the conventional choices of just, you know, leaving college, getting married, having babies, blah, blah, blah. And saying, you know, you can wait a little bit. You can be fabulous for a little bit. And it has affected culture. It has affected the masses. So maybe she has a point.
Maybe.
Well, politics have moved backward. I mean, the other thing is since 2008 and since 2006 when her show was on, women have moved backward. There are fewer women on the national political scene.
Yeah, and you know, in all my years of Hollywood, which sadly has been long now, she's the smartest woman I've ever met. She's Mensa. She took her time to form the Women's Study on Gender Issues, and that's what she was talking about during this interview. And when all of us were on League of Their Own, like, you know, playing tic-tac-toe, she literally made a hand-pumped organ in her little trailer that played the song of the League of Their Own that she cut out herself from the paper organ that came in the kit, and she did this before noon. So this is a woman whose intellect is so high that I think whatever she says, I'm going to pay attention to.
I pay attention to it, but I really hope that that's not what's influenced. I'm hoping that it's more than television influencing people, because, you know, there's so much on there that I'm begging y'all not to watch. I'm begging you. Please don't let it make you think one way. Always keep your own brain. It's important. But what about this? Because not everybody is talking highly about the power of Hollywood, apparently. In a recent interview, John Cusack called it a whorehouse. That's...
Wow.
This is what happens to old hoes. As I said, he's called it a whorehouse that spits out young actors. He says showbiz is so obsessed with youth that it puts women out to pasture when they're as young as 29, while men are able to age gracefully on screen. What do you think?
Amen, John Cusack. That's what I said. I think it's true.
I think he has a point, but I also think that, you know, if you are talented, talent never can be destroyed. It can be slowed or excelled. It can never be destroyed. And I think that sometimes Hollywood does do that, majority of the time. But you know, you see the women who pass 40 who are still there. And what keeps them there is their undeniable talent. And I think that a lot of the young ingenues are so obsessed about looking good in front of the camera instead of being good in front of the camera. And so, you know. And that's not putting the fault on the women.
No,
it's not putting the fault on the women.
It is, but it has always, this has always been the case. It has always been the case. But you know what? What is not the case? These four bitches will be back after. So welcome back. Well, here's the kicker. You know, sometimes, and I have to start this by saying, you know, we often have a lot of really interesting, what do you call it, sponsors. And Walmart is one of our sponsors. And sometimes when we take issue with our sponsors, we always have to say, hey, we know you're our sponsors, we respect you, but this is an interesting story, and that's why we're telling it. So actor Tracy Morgan is still recovering from injuries he suffered this past June when his limo was rear-ended by the driver of a Walmart truck. And now Walmart is kind of saying, hey, you know, if you had on your seatbelts, you probably would not have been as injured or injured at all. So it feels a little bizarre to me, because even if they had been wearing their seatbelts, it still doesn't explain how that giant truck ended up not only hitting them and killing a man, you know. So I know Walmart, they have
I called their press office this morning, and what they said is that this was a technical legal filing, that they are not making any attempt to shift the blame, that they understand the responsibility for this accident, and they're eger to resolve it. So that's the other
Okay,
side.
I have a real question. How did you get their phone number?
It's a Republican thing, right?
Really? I would never think maybe we should call them and someone would answer. I thought it would be, Walmart is open from 8 a.m. till 11. What number do you call? They get that.
You know, I do want to say that it was such a tragedy, and he lost a dear friend.
A dear
and Tracy Morgan is such a sweet person, and I just want to wish him well.
Yeah.
And everyone else
You know what?
involved in the accident.
It's going to be slow. It's going to be slow going. And I'm glad Walmart said that because sometimes you don't know when you read something in the newspaper because it sounds so callous, like you're just saying. And we want everybody to wear their seatbelts when they're driving. We want everybody to do that. But it doesn't take away from the fact that that big truck, that wasn't a little kind of box truck. That was like a big truck.
When you're being driven somewhere to an event or whatever, or any of us, do you wear your seatbelt in the back?
99% of the time.
Yeah, I do too.
I didn't know that I'm a mama.
Yeah.
You know?
My wife had a really bad accident about 4 years ago, flipped over 3 times, you know, and luckily she and the driver were not really that hurt, although the bruises are intense. She is now really, every time, click your seatbelt, click your seat. She'll call me on the way to work here.
To make
Is your seatbelt on? Right? Because I don't think of it always.
Yeah. Well, see, I travel by bus, and so I'm constantly passing things. And, you know, these guys, these truck drivers, they are trying to make a living. You know, they're doing their best. They don't want to have an accident either. And sometimes stuff happens. So, you just really want everybody to come out of this with the knowledge that we can do better for ourselves.
And they work so hard, those drivers.
They do.
And they don't really have fair hours and fair
No.
time to rest. And in order to make a living for their family, they have to be away, and then they try to do a little bit more than maybe they should because they need to make the money, and all of these tragedies happen. So maybe we need like a truck drivers union to say, this is the amount of time they can work, and this is a fair pay, you know?
They do. They do. Well, how about this? Because I know this is going to be shocking, but the NFL has yet another new controversy on its hands after last night's game. Chiefs player Hassan Abdullah, a devout Muslim, was penalized for penalized. I mean, are we feeding into Muslim fear?
Yes. I think as a nation we are. I think that, you know, it propels us to war. You have to rally the country in order to bomb a country that did nothing to you. And you need to rally them. And so that's what I think that was. Anyone is allowed to represent their joy in whatever way possible for 2 minutes on a football field. And I think it's anti-Muslim bias.
I think it's also... I think it brings up a larger issue, just adding on to what you said. In the wake of ISIL and Iraq, Afghanistan, and what have you, I just don't believe that the Muslim community has been given its proper respect, its proper time on the media to show that they do not agree with what's going on, you know, and they'll just make a mention of it like, Muslim community says they do not agree. And that's it. But they don't give them the airtime. They don't give them the print time I think that they deserve. And I think in America, it's the land of the free and the home of the brave. And everyone's voice should be heard.
Well, the NFL agrees with you. And the NFL put out a statement saying that he should not have been penalized. That their code says that while players... They should not have been penalized for unsportsmanlike conduct following his touchdown, but that their code does state that players are prohibited from engaging in any celebrations or demonstrations while on the ground. However, the officiating mechanic in this situation, I guess that's the referee. Officiating makes sound so technical here. In this situation is not to flag a player who goes to the ground as part of religious expression, which this clearly was. So the NFL...
Well, so is the NFL going to clear him?
Well, it sounds that way. It sounds like there should have been no penalty on the play.
Well, then we'll see how that goes, because we're going to check and make sure that it gets cleared up, because that's how deep we are. That's how deep we are. We're going to call the NFL and make sure.
She has the
number two. We're going to be back with more Hot Topics.
It's the ultimate relationship rom-com. Amelie Tipton and Jake McDormand talk about their sizzling new series, Manhattan Love Story.
Welcome back. You know, the state of Colorado legalized pot a while back. Woohoo! But you can still get fired there for getting high. Now, a man named Brandon Coates was canned from his job for failing a drug test. He's a quadriplegic quadriplegic with medical marijuana prescription. But if pot is still legal, why can you discriminate against someone who's using it? And now a lot of things have gone on. He's not able to get a job now because people are concerned about his pot use.
Yeah, listen, I think this is going to go a long way in the courts. I think this is a legal question because the courts have tested a lot of different things that you do when you're off duty.
Right.
And have protected employees for their off-duty behavior.
Was this off-duty?
He's a medical marijuana patient.
But was he off-duty when he got fired?
Well, the drug test showed that the marijuana was still in
I'm
his
sorry.
blood.
I'm with it. Sorry.
He wasn't in trouble for being high at work. He was in trouble because he failed the drug test.
But he also offered full disclosure.
Of course he did, because he's a medical marijuana patient with a prescription from a doctor.
So in other words, he went home after his work and he used his medicine. Then they gave him a drug test and said, you're out.
Yes.
Correct.
Well, that's not
And now
fair.
he can't get a job because
fair.
others are saying, now it seems to me in Colorado, one would think that there might be people who are actually working who might be taking medical and medicinal marijuana. And even if they're doing it in their off time and they're doing it recreationally, why? You can drink.
Yes.
You know, you can cross-dress, you can, I don't know, you
anything
can do
really
anything. So why is...
It's also has a big, it has a larger scope because when you talk about legalizing marijuana and it's state by state, you have this problem, but you also have other problems. For instance, they cannot put the money, their profits,
in the bank.
In the bank, because the banks are federal. So this has to be addressed. It really does. And
the
this
laws
poor
have to
guy,
catch up
the
to
laws have
what
to catch
states
up,
are
and
doing.
they will catch up because you know what? Legalizing marijuana is making people money.
Yeah.
And that's the
and
number
let's
one
talk about
reason why.
states, making states money.
That's right.
Making states money. Listen, this is a conversation we're going to be having a lot because we're going to bring you people because you have to, we're going to bring you people who can explain what's going on because we should be much better informed about this than we are. So we're going to take you to where you need to be. How about this? You might want to trek an extra mile to your own bank when you hear this, because there's a new survey determined that the average fee for using an out-of-network ATM is $4.35 a transaction.
Crazy.
Now, does this not count as bank robbery?
Totally.
I mean,
Most people take out $60. That's
Right.
the average amount withdrawn. If they're taking $5 out of that, I failed math on every test, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a small chai latte at Starbucks.
That's $5?
Yeah, $4.35.
but I don't understand. Isn't it your money? I just have to ask
It's a
this
lot of
question.
money. It's crazy.
Isn't it your money?
Yes.
Haven't you done the bank a favor by keeping them in business by being somebody who does business? So, I don't understand, and maybe it's y'all have to do it, but maybe somebody should say, listen, this is a gift to you.
Don't be
We're
greedy.
coming to help you out, because you know you almost failed the last time. So be nice to us. Be nice to us. Shoot. And we'll be right back with the amazing Lena Dunham.
Girl star Lena Dunham has a new book out that is absolutely amazing called Not That Kind of Girl. It is getting rave reviews from everyone. Please welcome Lena Dunham. Hi, honey. You're good in that. You're getting so much better in the high heels. Come on, I'll help you. You look adorable.
Thank you. If I'd known there was the walk, I would have done a different shoe thing. But
Yes, you know, those heels are hard to manage, wouldn't you say?
yeah, it's a challenge every day.
But
that
you-
I wear them, which is almost no days.
But you are a fashion maven.
I mean, that is something that my mother would say. That is something that, thankfully, you would say. I don't think anyone else is really chiming in on that front.
Well, you know, you were on the cover of Vogue, honey.
That was really exciting.
That's as fashiony as you get.
That gave me at least a week of validation for wearing, leggings with holes in them. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, can I say, Lena Dunham, that I adore you on
adore
every
you,
level.
too.
You are divine, and you give me hope for the future of women and feminism. So thank you, Lena Dunham.
Thank you.
Now,
It means
so much to me. You're such an important part of my personal evolution, so it means a lot to be here with you. And when we met at Howard Stern's birthday party, a place no one expected to see either of us.
Correct.
I felt deeply connected to you.
Yeah, and I fangirled all over you.
It felt really good.
Did it? Because I've been showing everyone the picture like I swear I'm friends with her. I swear to God.
We had a real moment.
We did.
We had a real moment in a hectic situation.
Yes. I had heard, first of all, I fell in love with the show first time I saw it, like the rest of the world. And then our mutual friend, Nora Ephron, had dinner with her, and she was singing your praises. And I noticed that the forward of the book, the dedication is to her.
It is.
And what was...
Her generosity with other women, with younger artists, it was completely unparalleled, and she had a way of bringing everyone comfortably into her orbit and, you know, providing them with fuel that would really take them through life. So I know I'm not alone. I know that this dedication stands for a lot of women's feelings about Nora.
I agree. I agree. What did she tell you about meeting the love of your life? Because it says, and for Jack, who is just as she said he would be.
You know, Nora and I would have these lunches where I would tell her about whatever disastrous dating situation I was currently engaged in, and she would sort of, you know, nod her head, amused, and I was telling her about this one guy, and I don't know if he's the one, which is such a ridiculous concept to begin with, and she sort of said to me, you know, you need to find someone, once you are fully who you're going to be, you need to find someone who accepts and understands that, rather than trying to, you know, wedge yourself into the kind of girlfriend you think that this person wants. And so it's all about meeting someone on your own terms, you know, as your most fully formed self, and them accepting you. And shortly before Nora passed away, I met Jack, and I've often wished that they could meet each other, and I could say, like, look, I did, functional human being, I did it. So I loved finding that way to connect them, and, you know, it can be hard to share sort of stuff that private, but I guess that's what book dedications are for.
Totally. And a lot of people have accused you, as they have accused me, of the TMI, that we share too much. We're oversharers. Would you say that that's a sexist perspective?
I mean, have you ever heard someone say TMI to a man?
No.
When a man shares a story, they're brave, they're opening pathways for other people's suffering. When women share a story, they're hysterics who are forcing their problems onto you. And so for me, too much information is one of the most offensive phrases in the English language. And if someone says it to me, I'm immediately sure that we're not going to be friends.
Right. I think it's a good gauge.
It's a very good gauge. Also, also using an abbreviation like that in your everyday speech is frustrating as well, so.
I get it. Yeah. LOL.
OMG.
Hashtag whatever. Okay. Now, your parents are both artists, and that, I think, was a huge benefit in your life, would you say?
It was, you know, I think having, oh, there they are on a TV screen.
Look how cute.
You can see I'm gazing at them adoringly.
Yes.
Which I do feel 97% of the time. But, you know, I think being around people, you know, it takes a lot of bravery, as you know. I mean, I'm not touting my own bravery. I'm talking about the bravery of artists everywhere who every day get up and express themselves sort of, you know, despite the emotional, financial, personal odds. And I think having parents who had so doggedly pursued artistic careers made me feel like, oh, that's a thing I could actually do and not live in the subway. And so that is what I think gave me sort of, they gave me the launching pad and the support to feel like I could do this.
And yet sometimes your dad has said to you, I think you process information into art too quickly so that you don't get to experience it fully?
I mean, I think he's at times been critical of my ability to be here now, as Ram Dass would say.
Yes.
And as all the Zen thinkers would say, you're supposed to be present, and that can be challenging for all of us.
Right.
And so I think that my father has definitely had moments where he thinks I'm like standing there turning something into a scene before it's even happened, trying to kind of like urge everyone to say the weirdest, funniest thing they possibly can. And he has to remind me, we are humans, we are not your characters, you are not directing us. Calm down, this is Thanksgiving.
Right. And you are really doing that.
I mean, it can be unavoidable.
Right.
It's a pitfall of the job.
And it's also a salvation. That's how artists survive all their feelings, I think, getting them out, right?
Of course, that's one of the reasons I wrote this book, is because I think that, you know, we all have our methods of catharsis, but for me, that's what writing's always been, and it's a way to handle the experiences that were too much to process in the moment, and to, you know, to be able to share your experiences with other people and connect over your, you know, your pain, for lack of a better word. That makes the world feel so small. It makes life feel so much less lonely, and it's, you know, the relationships I've formed with other women, particularly women, though people in general, through making this work has changed my whole life.
I'll bet. And you've changed the lives of so many of us from your work. I don't know if this font is a tribute to Joan Didion's book.
You know, this font is a tribute to kind of 70s literary culture in general. I've always been very attracted to, you know, like the books that you might find in the bar, like, you know, the beautiful 75-cent Philip Roth book you find in the bargain bin,
right,
or that amazing first edition Gloria Steinem. And so my graphic designer, Teddy Blanks, and I spent a long time together trying to get, you know, something that wasn't too retro, but evoked that.
Well, you did it,
same
honey.
idea.
And the book
Thank
is
you.
brilliant, and you share personal and painful truths in the way that only you can. And truthfully, I adore you.
I adore you too.
Lena Dunham, members of our audience are getting this book, and you please go buy it. We'll be right back after this.
So there's a brand new series called Manhattan Love Story. It's the perfect romantic comedy, apparently, for anyone who's ever been on a date. I'm never going on a date again. I'm just telling you.
It's scary, right?
It's too much for me.
It's way too much.
But explain to everybody, you like my shoes. Thank
Everybody
you.
likes
Explain to us what the premise of this is, like in a nutshell.
Okay, I'll start, and then if I mess up, just tap me out, and then you can
See,
take it.
it's
Okay.
like a date going better here than it did on TV. I mean, it's hard to
We've
believe.
had tons of practice now.
Okay.
That was like many takes after another.
And that's the pilot. That's from tonight's
Yeah,
episode.
that's tonight. That's coming on tonight. And our show's about two people. It's kind of an unlikely pairing. She just moved to New York.
Right.
My character, Peter's been in New York for a long time, and they get set up on a blind date that goes not so great. And it starts, I mean, that's what's kind of cool about the show is it's a romantic comedy that starts at the very beginning of a relationship. So we don't know what that's going to be. Like, if you're in a relationship for 3 years, if you think back to your first dates, you didn't know it was going to turn into a big, long relationship. So that's where we're picking up with these guys, and the whole kind of catch is that you can hear what they're thinking.
Right. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever, like, been walking down the street and saw somebody say, hey? And then thought, nah, I better not do that.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe in that way, but I have kind of a backpacker's mentality. So and as a quiet person, I think my favorite thing is to meet strangers with stories and kind of go on adventures with them and hopefully not get arrested.
That sounds really interesting. I love that. But what I love is with this show, and I saw you and loved you in Crazy Stupid Love, it's this resurgence of the romantic comedy, which I adore. And I think when you do it with sweetness and with authenticity, I think everyone loves it. So was this sort of right? I mean, was this sort of, I know this show has been put in a category as sort of a nod to Nora Ephron, and Lena and Rosie just talked about the great Nora Ephron. How do you feel about being in this romantic comedy genre?
I love it. It's great. It's a lot of fun because it has a lot of heart, you know? So we get to have and our supporting cast is fantastic. They're all so funny. They're really, really off the wall. So you get to have the comedy, but then it always comes right back to the story that kind of grounds it, which is, you know, Dane and Peter navigating through this awkward couple of first dates and being in a new city and hearing what they're thinking. And the thing about, like, hearing what they're thinking that I think is cool is the fact that the audience is going to know that they're probably a good match way before they do, because they're just keep getting in each other's way. Because, you know, when you meet a girl, you try to put your best foot forward, then you put it in your mouth.
That always happens to me when I meet a girl.
It's nice to do.
Now listen, your first movie was Crazy Stupid Love. You're just getting ready to do a movie with Clint.
I just finished it.
You just finished it with me.
Yeah.
And so now you're doing this, and welcome to ABC, and we hope that it lasts for many, many, many years, because y'all, you know, are fun. We thank Annalise.
They took their final bow on Dancing with the Stars last night, but they saved the last dance for us. Please welcome Randy Couture and Karina Smirnoff. Okay, I am so excited. Two of my favorite things in the world, dancing and fighting. All right. So, six-time world champion, mixed martial arts,
Yes.
UFC. Why Dancing with the...
Different for me outside the box, and I think maybe show a little different side of myself, a little softer side. I have 3 children, that know that side of me. My mom, my sisters, they know that side of me, but most people know me for the guy being in the cage, punching people in the face.
And for being a big Army guy and helping vets, right?
Yeah, I was in the Army 6 years, and now a little different time in my life. I get to give back to those guys that are putting it on the line now.
Good for you, Randy.
And you got a you in a movie, baby? You got a movie?
Yes,
What you
yes.
doing?
It's Across Grace Ellis with Ralph Macchio. It's out on DVD, and it's out today, actually.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, you know what, guys? Let's get you guys onto the dance floor. I
Okay.
can't wait to see this one last time. So we're dancing the foxtrot to The Way You Look Tonight by Maroon 5. It's Randy Couture.
Yes.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. And that laugh wrinkles your nose, it touches my foolish heart. Oh, 'cause I love you just the way you look tonight.
Our thanks to Randy Couture and Karina Smirnoff. You can catch Dancing with the Stars next Monday at 8 p.m. on ABC. Everybody, have a great day.